Okay, I'll keep this quick because I have an econ test I'm studying for. But one thing I'm working on is being a simpler person, which sounds weird, at least for me, because I don't want to be someone who's just rooted in one thing, like or you're a programmer or you do ASA or you do this, right? I want to be Dalu instead of like identified by what I do, right? So I feel like simple will be like being in one box or whatnot. But when I say I'm working towards being a simpler person, I mean just making my reasoning more simple, right? Because, okay, I have a good example here. In the past, whenever I did something, right, I always like, due to insecurities, I'll create complex reasons like, oh, I'm doing this for this reason, and then this reason is probably motivated by this or whatnot. But then now I just say, okay, I want to do this, and that's purely it, right? And there may be other sub factors or whatnot, but I think the main thing is I want to do this. I just want to do that. For example, with the coding, the oh gosh, the progressive tax calculated time lapse video, right? There was moments when I was making that video, making the program where I was like, I could probably be doing better things. Why am I doing this now? It's a waste of time. Just do this later or whatnot. But I was like, I want to do this, and I think that mindset does help with my motivation, because instead of just worrying about, oh, this or that, I can focus on one thing and say it's as simple as that. I just want to do this and I'll do this. Or if I want to eat outside, I say, okay, let me go eat outside. Or if I want to go outside to walk, let me go outside to walk. So that's something I think is really cool. Even now I'm trying to apply that more to academics, and I don't need to have like some crazy system or some crazy motivation. Like it's like I have to do this, or let me go work on my biology stuff because that's due tomorrow. It doesn't have to be something crazy. But yeah, I'm trying to become a simpler person and have a simpler mindset instead of complicating my ideas. Well, complicating my reasonings. I think another good one, right, I'll end with this example. One thing I already talked about, I think this was in the Q&A section of Project Phillips much earlier on. But it was like someone asked me, why do you always hold the door, right? And each time I hold the door, I always ask them, like, at least before, right, a couple months back, I always ask myself, oh, why am I doing this? Is a dumb rule. What's the real motivation behind this and whatnot? And then it always be like the same thing. I was like, I want to do this. But each time I still had that like whole argument with myself. But like now when I hold the door, I say, yeah, because this is a rule I've kept to myself, and I think it's a good rule to keep. You know, it builds discipline. It's a kind thing to do. So instead of complicating, I just say, yeah, this is one of my rules. I'll stick to it. And it does help. Instead of complicating it, I just say it's as simple as that. So yeah, I think that's a new philosophy I've acquired to my utility belt. I think it really helps. So I'm being simple. That's my philosophy, and now I have to go study for an econ test. So have a great day. Hey, this is Dalu. A couple minutes after this video, but in having that philosophy and talk about it, right, I do think there's downsides to it as well. For instance, if I lean too much into the idea, then I cancel out any like critical thinking, because I just dismiss it as, oh, you're being insecure, or just leave it as this, which I think is very dangerous, because sometimes what you want to do or what seems like the foremost idea may not necessarily be the best one, right? And sometimes you have to step back. So then I do think there's also that critical. Here's what I say, right? When it comes to like doing an actual event, I have to plan out how I want to do those events first before I go into it. So it's not just like I'm doing stuff spontaneously. So then that's how I try to balance it out. So I can still have that time for critical thinking. I'm like, okay, I want to do this, but I also have to do this at this time for this thing to work. I think that's the main balancing point. There's also something I was going to say, but I forgot. Okay, this is future dollar talking. But what I was gonna say is that I also take breaks in between what I'm gonna do. So if, for instance, like with the calculated coding thing, I'll take breaks in between. I'm like, okay, during those breaks, I take a moment to think, should I do this? Or how should I approach this thing? This thing's taking too long. Should I keep with it? So then that's actually another thing I actually do with this whole simplicity thing. One thing I've realized is that I'm more how do I phrase this? I'm more favorable to the situation I'm in, right? So if I'm in my bed, I'm like, okay, I obviously think the best idea is probably going to be to go to bed. So what I try to do is like I take moments out. I have to leave that location to be objective, right? And I'm like, okay, I can go back to my bed, but I can also go to my table. I'm like, I balance it out. My table probably wasn't the best example because it's right next to my bed. But the idea is that I try not to be in a situation as I'm making a decision between leaving or staying in that situation. Okay, I think that makes sense. I don't have any examples on my head right now besides this one. For example, if I'm deciding if I should eat in the cafeteria longer or almost a go study for an assignment or a quiz or a test, right? What I do instead of staying in the cafeteria and making that decision, I leave the cafeteria and say, okay, if I really want to do this thing and I decide it's the best thing to do, I'll go back. But since I'm out of there now, I'm less biased towards that thing, right? Because I think as human beings, we have a tendency to prefer not to change. So then that's something I've learned, that's like it's best to do a change before you make a decision saying, okay, I had it on my tongue. It's best to change. It's best to leave the situation before you make a decision to stay or leave that situation, if that makes sense. Because if you truly think that situation is preferable, then you go back on your own accord instead of just saying, oh, I just want to stay here. Okay, that's pretty much it. Have a great day.